So there have been a lot of comments on the video I made about how to live in your car and not look homeless. And one of the questions was, how did you become homeless? So I'm going to talk about that in this video. Hey guys, welcome to my channel, K Fits My Life. So in this video, I'm going to talk about the things that led up to me being homeless. And there were basically three things. The first thing was I went through a divorce. And I'm going to make this the very short version of a very long story. But what happened was once we split a few years down the line, she found out that I was seeing another woman. And out of spite, she took me to child support court. Before then, we had already had an arrangement and I was paying her monthly without having to go through court. But when this happened, she decided to take me to child support court. Now, at that time, I had my own business. I had my own dance studio. And to save money and try to make sure that my business succeeded, I gave up my apartment and I was living in my dance studio. That way I wouldn't have to pay another, I think it was like $700 a month for the rent in my apartment. And I made the lobby of my studio was pretty much like a living room. It was really nice. So I had fold out couches and things like that. So it was a really, really nice place. And so once that happened, I wasn't able to afford to keep my business anymore. So I lost my business, and then losing my business, I also lost my place to stay, which, having to break my lease like that was a negative on my credit report, which made it really next to impossible for me to get another place, especially with me. When I started my business, I had to break my lease at my apartment complex because I had to go ahead and just move into my studio right then. So I had to make a decision. Probably wasn't the best decision, but had this not happened, it would have worked out very well. So losing my studio, losing my business, losing my home, it caused me to basically at that point be homeless. So all the stuff that I had in my studio, I had to sell. And I basically had my car. So then at that point, we moved to the second thing. And the second thing was I moved in with a family member. And so I decided I would pay that family member, a month's rent every month, a certain amount every month. And for a while, it was really, really good. But I actually started to do very, very well with my choreography. I started working with labels, started working with larger artists, and whether knowingly or unknowingly, there were a lot of things that I think were done to sabotage what was happening with me, because I was not able to just, hang out and be home. I was busy. I was hardly ever there. But those things started to add up. There were a lot of other issues that I started to have with my family member. And so it all kind of came to a head one day. And I had to tell that family member, I'm just going to have to cut you off. And I would rather live in my car than to be in this situation where I felt like I was doing everything to uplift and be as uplifting to my family member as possible. But it really wasn't. I didn't feel like it was being returned. And I felt like whether intentionally or unintentionally, things were being done to sabotage my livelihood. So at that moment, I had to say, look, I'd rather live in my car than to be in this situation. And that was the only family member that I had that was not a Jehovah's Witness. So in that situation, that was the last family member that I had a good relationship with. And so once their relationship went south, and I decided I had to cut ties with that family member, that was basically when I lost the whole family that I had here in Nashville. I have one other relative, but they live in California. I have my cousins, but they have families. They're spread out. I would never, impose on them like that. I didn't want to impose on anybody. So at that point, I said, all right, it's time to live in my car. So that's when I decided to move into my car. But the third thing was, in all these situations, and I think this is the most important thing, is that I didn't have a plan B the whole time. I shouldn't have been in a situation where I didn't know what would happen or what I would do if something were to happen. And that's a really, really important thing. We have to start planning events instead of reacting to events. And in those two situations, I was just being very reactive. I didn't have a plan set up. I didn't have a lot of savings set aside. I didn't have a lot of things that I should have had as a grown man. I should have had a lot of plans set in place just in case things happen. And so going forward, now I realize the importance of having a plan. So I honestly don't think that I would be in a situation where going forward I wouldn't know what I would do if something happened, right? So that's basically it. That's how I ended up being homeless. And a lot of people have been leaving really smart comments saying things like, being homeless is the problem. You shouldn't be worried about whether or not you look homeless. But, that was beside the point. The point of that video was to show people, okay, sometimes things will happen. And you can't always control everything that happens, but what you can control is how you react to those things. And so that video was made so that I could show, okay, this may happen to you. And I know a lot of people that this has happened to. And they've just cracked. And I've seen them and I was like, man, what happened to you? Because they just weren't able to deal with this situation. They were not able to take what happened to them and say, okay, this has happened. How can I deal with it? How can I move forward and improve myself in this situation? So that was the whole reason I made that video, to show that yes, bad things happen, but how you react to them will make all the difference, right? So this is a really short video. I'm not going to rant very long, but I am going to make another video about things that you shouldn't do in child support court, because I know a lot of men who have gone through this, and this video is not for guys who are just not planning on doing anything for their kids or anything like that. This video is for guys who are legit good guys who are just in this situation and are trying to be screwed over. So I'm gonna put a link to that video in the description. But let me know what you guys think. Hopefully this video will be useful and helpful. If you like, please like, share, subscribe, and thanks again for your support. And I'll see you all on the next one, all right? Peace.